Hello, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to not exactly World of Warships, but we are on the Warship Fitting Tools. It's an excellent website to use if you want to examine, check out different builds, also ship comparison, artillery chart, so on and so forth. So I have the Shimakaze line currently reset at the Kagerō, the ship that we're going to be talking about in today's upgrade commander build video. Reset, so I don't actually have access to it in the game. So we're going to have to use these Warships fitting tool, which is really nice. And I actually like using this sometimes a bit more because I can easily jump and see what the numbers is without having to spin the balloons or other things to understand that. So sorry about my phone going off there. So let's check out the ship. So normally I would talk about the armor, which we're not going to be able to do so much here in this video, but it's pretty standard tier 8 armor. It's probably just a lot of the 19mm armor, maybe 16, and then probably some 10 or 13mm on the superstructure. So it's standard. I mean, it was the Japanese nation was one of the first nations introduced into the game, so it doesn't have some sort of odd complexities going on with the armor. It's pretty standard. In terms of the type of destroyer that Kagerō is, she is a torpedo destroyer. She's not a hybrid, she's not a gunboat, she is a straight up torpedo destroyer in a line of previous Akatsuki and eventually Yugumo. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at her modules. So first, with the guns, and now this is with nothing built on. Okay, so these statistics and things you're going to see is just completely stock. So there'll be some things that we do to kind of help things out. But with these guns, they're 127mm guns. You get 6 of them in total, and they hit really hard. Stock, their range is pretty mediocre, 8.55 kilometers. But we can upgrade that range where we increase to 9.4 kilometers, which is much nicer and better overall, in my opinion. Reload time is 7.5 seconds, or 7.05 seconds. So once you kick in something like Adrenaline Rush, you'll be getting down closer to 6 seconds as your ship loses health if you take the Adrenaline Rush skill. So it's, from this alone you can see, oh yeah, definitely not a hybrid or even a gunboat destroyer at all. Definitely revolves around the torpedoes. Yes, 180-degree turret traverse time is 26 seconds. A lot of people who play this Japanese destroyer line are very frustrated about the gun traverse time because this is essentially a battleship 180-degree turn time. And you saw it in yesterday's video, and I didn't even think to mention it because I'm just used to it with this line, is that it has a very slow turret traverse, where most destroyers, you could be looking between 3 to 8 seconds is probably this more standard range. So this is very brutal to have a 26-second 180-degree turret traverse turn time. So you just have to be very mindful when you pick out engagements with destroyers like the enemy Kagerō that I fought yesterday. I had to think in advance of what side did I want my guns to be on, so I wouldn't be surprised when my encounter with him, because it's important to get all your guns on the correct bearing. So that's usually why RPF build helps to know where enemy destroyers in relation to you, if you may be getting into a gun engagement. The hull A, without any survivability expert, is 13,300. Once we take the hull B, we go up to 15,100, and I'm not sure if this actually affects maneuverability either. We'll check. Yeah, so your register time goes from 4 seconds to 3.7 seconds. So there's a hull upgrade there, and I don't even know if there's anything different for the AA. We'll look. Yeah, so your damage for your aura goes from 16 to 28. So your AA is terrible. You don't play these destroyers for AA at all. You don't even think about it. You can pretty much just leave your AA on. And we'll look at the range of the AA here momentarily. But you can see, yeah, max 2.5 kilometer in your AA concealment. Once you build into it, it's going to drop down from 3. Now, in terms of torpedoes, your stock torpedoes are 10-kilometer torpedoes, or 9.99 kilometers to be exact. Maximum damage 17,233. With a speed of 62 knots. We're going to work on the speed. The reload time stock is 101 seconds. We can get that down as well. And they have a pretty notable detectability range of 1.6 kilometers. Not as bad as the quote-unquote light cruiser Japanese line of the Yodo. So with the reaction time, you can see 9.6 second reaction time. So we want to increase the speed of these torpedoes and see if we can invest in them to help lessen the reaction time an enemy player would have to try to avoid and dodge your torpedoes. So when we upgrade the torpedoes, you can see our damage goes up almost 21,000. Our range stays the same. Our reload time jumps to 112 seconds. Our torpedo speed, though, increased to 67 knots versus was 62 knots previously. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah. So 67 knots, so we got faster torpedoes, but detectability range is 1.7 kilometers now. But even though it's added another 10th of a kilometer detectability range, you can see reaction time actually still dropped to 9.4 seconds versus 9.6 seconds. And this is because your torpedoes are going faster. If they were still 62 knots, then the reaction time would probably be closer to 10 seconds. But 9.4, so that's good. As well, another thing we can look at is the chances of causing flooding. Does go up for the upgraded torpedoes. This is something that you can't see in the World of Warships game client. At least I remember off the top of my head. So that's another reason why I like hopping over to Warship fitting tools, so then I can actually check out, this detectability range, this reaction time, and this chances of causing flooding. So we're going to do some things to improve these damage or the torpedo numbers in terms of our upgrades and commander build. So, sorry, I'm gonna take some water. I'm having a hard time with my throat here. Been talking a lot. So for the first slot for the upgrade, what I would recommend taking is the main armaments modification 1. This risk of your main battery and torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated, -20%. Survivability of the torpedoes in the main battery, +50%, and torpedo tube in main battery repair time, -20%. So we do want that. Excuse me, to help us out overall here. You don't need the other ones. You don't need magazine modification because you just take the Julia Charlie combat signal, which completely eliminates the risk of your ship's magazine detonating, which is not that one, it's this one here. For the second slot, there's two options. One is the engine room protection. This is like standard stock that you should run. The risk of your engine becoming incapacitated, -20%. Engine repair time, -20%. Steering gears becoming incapacitated, -20%. Steering gears repair time, -20%. Now, if you have the coal and you don't mind spinning it, I would encourage you to pick up the engine boost modification one. This increases the action time of your engine boost by +30%. So for example, right now our action time is 120 seconds. And if I add this on, it's going to go from 120 seconds to probably 156 seconds. So more than 150 seconds. So that's quite nice. So it's like 2.5 minute action time on your engine boost to get around the map, since you don't have the best of speed. But while we're on that topic, 35 knots if we add the Sierra Mike combat signal, which improves our ship speed by +5%, or up to 36.8 knots, which is much better. And then also having the engine boost is quite nice. So this is what I would prefer to run here in the second slot. Now, third slot, really what you want to go for is your torpedo tubes modification 1. This improves your torpedo speed by +5%, the risk of your torpedoes becoming incapacitated, -40%, and torpedo tube traverse speed +20%. So when I mount this, you're going to see the speed increase, and the reaction time should also decrease, meaning that the enemy player has less of reaction time to avoid your torpedoes. Yeah, so we've gone from 67 knots to 70 knots. And we've gone from a reaction time of 9.4 seconds to 9 seconds. So we shaved 0.4 of a second off, which is going to help us out here. So that's good. And we can still get that number lower. And we'll look at that here in a moment. The other thing, some players are tempted to take the main battery modification 2. You don't play this line for guns. You play this line for destroyers. If you want to play a Japanese destroyer line for guns, you play the gunboat line, like Akazuki. Play Benson, play Lightning, other destroyers in the game. This line is all about the torpedoes, so definitely build into those torpedoes, despite having a rather poor 180-degree turret traverse time. Now for the fourth slot, what I'm going to recommend, and you saw me utilizing this quite a lot in yesterday's video, is the Propulsion Modification 1. This reduces time to full speed, time taken to reach full engine power when accelerating, -50%. So this helps to avoid, that shimakaze shooting at us. We avoided like 3 or 4 salvos in a row, just because we were kiting, we were using our propulsion, turning in and out with our rudder. So the propulsion helps you avoid salvos entirely, versus the steering gears, which usually you're just going to mitigate your damage. So to be able to stop and accelerate, perhaps even as torpedoes on the way, Propulsion Modification 1 is just all around the best. Now the next thing is we're going to build into the strength of our concealment. So our current concealment by sea is 6.63, by air is 3.07. So when I mount this, we see these numbers drop. So you can see 5.97 concealment, and we can still get that down lower. And sea is 2.76 kilometers, and you saw that the main firing main guns and smoke and when on fire also reduced. So if I just switch off to something else random, I'm sorry, when on fire, the smoke fire penalty doesn't change dependent upon concealment of your ship. So concealment is just great overall. It also increases the dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship by +5%, meaning they have slightly worse dispersion when shooting at your ship. So this is what you want to have in your 5th slot. Now for the consumables on the ship, you have damage control, party reload time 40 seconds, action time 5 seconds, pretty standard, infinite number of these consumables. And then you get to choose between smoke, or you get to choose between the torpedo reload booster. Now if you're newer to this line, grinding it, probably what I'm going to tell you is maybe play some games first with your smoke generator if you're very you need smoke as a player to survive. But what I would want to encourage you to, once you figure out torpedo destroyers more, is transition to the torpedo reload booster. It has a 240-second reload time on it, but this means that you can get 16 torpedoes in the water within 9 seconds, essentially. It has an 8-second reload time, so after you've dumped your 8 torpedoes, you press your hotkey that's tied to this, and then you have another 8 torpedoes in 8 seconds. And the damage these torpedoes do is almost 21,000, so you definitely want to build into that. So this just means that you have to be mindful of planes and mindful of enemy ships around you, and even with radar you still have to be mindful because smoke wouldn't help you with radar. So I recommend taking torpedo reload booster. And then for the engine boost, which we've already talked about a bit, the reload time is 2 minutes, and you can only get 3 of these unless you take a superintendent, which we can look at here with the build as well. In terms of combat signals, I want to increase my chances of causing flooding by +15%. So you can see chances of flooding is 355%. I mount this up to 408%. When we started off with the stock, it was less than 300. It was like, to 287. So definitely get to increase our chances of causing flooding dramatically. I always take a ram flag. It's always fun if you end up having to ram an enemy submarine, destroyer, or cruiser battleship, and you take them with you, because you pack a punch, you cause 50% additional damage when ramming an enemy, and you receive less damage when ramming an enemy by -20%. So I do recommend doing that. Let's see. This is a bit of a different order here. You don't need those. You can increase your chances of starting a fire if you want by 0.5%, but don't see the need. Don't need secondaries. Your AA sucks. It's not even worth touching. Don't take the November Foxtrot. You want to November Foxtrot set 7, but you do want to take this November Foxtrot combat signal because it reduces the reload time of your consumables, like your torpedo reload booster, your engine boost. Yeah, so you definitely want to take this. I like running it. And then you can extend your consumable action time. This doesn't say what consumable. I feel like this is only for... I don't know if it actually affects the engine, or I can see I just clicked on it. No, I think it's only for like hydro and maybe it's radar or something. Sierra Bravo cooldown time. I don't actually know what that one affects. 114, 156. Is that the one I'm thinking of? That looks right. No, it's that one. It should be 120-second reload time. Yeah. So that impacted our reload time here. And then I can't see it in the game because it doesn't give me exactly what's going on here. But I was thinking maybe that was it, because that's not the November Foxtrot. Because you see it's 38 seconds now with November Foxtrot, Sierra Bravo. Yeah, I think this is for a hydro radar. I don't remember. Yeah, I think this increases your smoke time. Okay, I gotta take that off. If we have smoke, action time 89, no, 20 seconds. 23 seconds, yeah. So it's just a little weird being looking here in the Warships fitting tool. Now, so you only need 5 combat signals. You don't need to waste all the others, is what I would tell you in my honest opinion. Now, Commander, if you're able to take either other Suzukis, they're really good because they have an enhanced skill. One's for 35,000 coal, one's for 1,500 doubloons. If I click on it, they have an enhanced skill for your destroyer, being Survivability Expert, which means that you get an additional increase for your ship per tier. So if I take this, if I go back to regular, you can see it's plus, well, it's giving me 2 numbers, but I think it's 350 is what it is on the bottom. I think the top one's maybe for cruisers. But if I take this, oh, okay, so let's first look at this. So without Survivability Expert, it's 15,100. Okay, and then for example, if I build into Survivability Expert with our regular commander, it's gonna go up to 17,900. And then if I take one of the Suzuki guys, since they have the enhanced skill, 17,900 turns into 18,300. So that means we got additional 400 hit points on our ship, which is honestly quite nice. So if you do have your commanders and you want to build one of these up, because I run, well, I do normally run one of these on my Shimakaze, because then I get additional 500 hit points. Then definitely do that. Okay, so continuing on here, there's a bit of a yawn. So for a 10-point build, you want to do the bread and butter build, which is going like this. So you want to take preventive maintenance, reduce the risk of your main turrets, torpedo tubes, steering gears, and engine becoming incapacitated. Risk of modules becoming incapacitated, negative 30%. Then for a 3-point commander, you definitely want to take last stand. Any destroyer you take play, you want last stand. If your engine or steering gears get knocked out, you're able to still use them both, but it's penalized at a reduced efficiency would be the right word, and you can actually see they even give you a percentage here. And then your Survivability Expert, you want this. I actually have a game I'm going to feature, I think hopefully next week, talking about that this skill is can be a make or break and game-changing difference. I don't know, I see destroyer players in the game who don't run Survivability Expert, and it's literally this first 6-point skill you should pick up. For those of you who watch my live stream, we played a little bit of Lightning, tier 8 British destroyer, and for some reason I had done this first, where I didn't pick up Survivability Expert, and I was kicking myself for that, but I didn't want to spend it, but I felt I was experienced enough player, and we had an interesting game, and I don't want to say anything more about it, but it makes a difference. So definitely want to run Survivability Expert. For 10 points build, you want to then run the Concealment Expert. So you can see that our concealment has dropped to 5.37 kilometers, and then our air is 2.49 kilometers. So then your AA is 2.5, so you can actually leave your AA on. You don't have to worry about turning it off, unless maybe someone's dumping depth charges at you. They're just trying to figure out your rough location. Then you want your AA off in those circumstances. So you can still tend to just run with it off. if you get a plane or two shot down, like, you really consider yourself lucky. You can see if you're on fire, your concealment would be 5.49, so just a slight increase. And then for a 13-point build, you want to run the Adrenaline Rush. As you lose health, your guns are going to be reloading faster, your torpedoes are going to be reloading faster. You know, you can be dropping down to 100-second reload time just by utilizing health. When team damage was a thing still in the game, you'd have players in a division, let's say the division up with the Shimakaze player or a clanmate, and they would purposely shoot their division mate to get the Shimakaze down to, let's say, 500 health. So he would have max Adrenaline Rush, max reload time out the gate. But now that they've taken away team damage, that's no longer a thing, but that was something that you would see back in the day. So honestly, quite funny. So have faster reloading torpedoes, faster reloading guns, and then you actually even get a slight buff to your AA by 0.2%, but it's garbage for what poor, terrible concealment the Kagerō has. After this, for a 16-point build, you want to take Fill the Tubes. This is going to reduce your torpedo reload time by -10%. So watch this number, 112 seconds. Bam, 108 seconds. 100.8 seconds, excuse me. So now, when your Adrenaline Rush kicks in, you can be down to 99, 98, 95, 93 second reload time on your torpedoes. And getting it down even more is really good when, you know, for the upgraded torpedoes from starting off at 112 seconds, not so hot. So you want to get that down even more. So this is a 16-point build commander. Then after this, there's a few different ways you could go. You could go ahead and go for radio location. This tells you, after you mastered this skill, tells you where the nearest enemy ship is in a direction. It kind of gives you this arc, which you kind of see right here. So that means you're a 20-point build. This is sometimes nice because of that terrible 180-degree turn time on your main battery. So you can get your guns maybe a little bit more prepared. But you have the best concealment in the game, right? So that's not like a concern when you run this skill perhaps on a gunboat destroyer or a cruiser. So you could run this, and then that leaves you with 1 point, and then you could take Grease the Gears, and then your turret traverse time would be down to underneath 23 seconds. So that is the build option you have there. The other one, which I'm more inclined that I would prefer running on Kagerō, because I quite enjoy the concealment. I don't find it lacking from myself, as I continue building into the torpedoes. So when we build into torpedoes, we're going to get additional 5% on our speed. So watch how our torpedo speed will go up, and the reaction time will drop. So 74 knot torpedoes and 8.6 second reload, or 8.6 second reaction time. You know, versus where, you know, if I take that away, and then we take away, you know, let's say we were doing traverse, you know, we're back up to 9.4 seconds, then we go with stock torpedoes, then it's 9.6. So we've already been able to shave the reaction time of these torpedoes down to 8.6 seconds. So we've shaved a second off, essentially, between the upgrades and our commander. So that's really great. So this helps you, the enemy team, have an enemy player that you're firing upon having that less reaction time, and torpedoes that are more likely to hit your target because the distance they have to travel is less. It doesn't take them as long. So it doesn't give the enemy player as much time to position or move, you know, or if he's just turning out because of a battleship fired at him. Right, the distance between you, your torpedoes, and an enemy ship is even faster now, and that's great. So we really want that on these torpedo destroyer lines, in my opinion. This is going to leave you with 3 points. So you could take, for example, to a 19-point build, giving you increased chance of flooding. So if you saw how big that number just jumped, if I take it off, 408% to 531%. So that's a very high chance of causing flooding when we started off underneath 300% with stock torpedoes and some of the combat signals and so on and so forth. So that's pretty devastating. And then you'd have a 2 points left. And then maybe you're a player who likes running priority target, knowing how many enemy ships are firing upon you. Priority target's a really good skill all around. It used to only be a 1 point build, 1 point skill, but that's 2 point. So you could run that. Or you could give those up. And we only have 3 torpedo reload boosters and 3 engine boosts. You could take Superintendent. And so now we're going to get 4 engine boost and 4 torpedo reload boosters. So you can get even more mileage out of the non-smoke build, or you have 4 smokes instead of 3 smokes. So this is probably something, because I try to use torpedo reload booster right out the gate at the start of the match, so then I can make sure I'm utilizing all torpedo reload boosters since they have such a long reload time, and I'm not still sitting on 2 or 3 by the end of the battle. So if you like using that, I mean, this means to do Superintendent, this is what I'm going to say for you as a destroyer player, if it makes sense for you to take it or not. If you're a destroyer player that dies in the first half of the battle, so let's say it's a 16-minute battle, you're constantly dying, like let's say 8 minutes in, Superintendent's going to be worthless to you. Because you're dying so quickly, you're not being able to utilize your 4th torpedo load booster, your 4th smokescreen, or your 4th engine boost. So then you'd want to give that up. And if you're dying a lot early on in the battle, that means your situational awareness is a bit poor, and that means you probably want to run with this build. If your situational awareness is higher and you're not dying in the first half of the battle, then this build becomes much more relevant for you as a player. Because you're mindful of your surroundings, you're a destroyer player who tends to survive till at least the end of the battle. That's my playstyle as a destroyer player. The longer I'm alive, especially the last half of the battle, I can have the most impact in changing a game around. So that is why I will run. This would be my main recommendation for running. If you're going to be alive and you're having those last impacts on the battle. Otherwise, I do appreciate having a higher chance of causing flooding, but it's kind of this RNG factor. And then with my 2 points remaining, I would do this. So build number 1, this. Build number 2, well, actually, so say build number 2 is for you to pick up or you could even do that. Pick up RPF if you feel like you don't have a good idea where enemy destroyers are, roughly into correlation to your position. That's why the mini-map awareness is really key, so it gives you a good idea of where an enemy destroyer might be. So then I would say run this build, or you could even run this. And then for my 3rd build option, what I'd recommend would be... would be this. That would be my 3rd build option with your commander. So if you don't actually have one of the Suzuki brothers, it's still fine. I'd still run this. It doesn't change my opinion at all in terms of the equipping here. So that's going to bring our video to a close. So the thumbnail for this video is probably going to look a little odd and different compared to what normal would be. Maybe I can update it in the future once I pick up the Kagerō again. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.